Is an automated future where robots do everything for us really what we want? Welcome back to Lost in Games Unscripted. I'm Josh Bearheart Hawk, and this is the series where I talk about pretty much whatever I feel like talking about on any given day. And today we're talking about the future because I'm trying to stave off the existential dread of the AI apocalypse that's coming. With our robot overlords that will be taking over and then Terminator style destroying all of humanity. That might be an exaggeration, or it might not be. There's no really good way to know. So I was thinking about this in terms of, so it's been months since I played Detroit Become Human for the Philosophy and Ethics in Games series, and then I played it on stream here on the channel. And while I haven't really talked much about the game in videos since then, it's been something that hasn't really left the back of my mind. It's the concepts and the ideas that were presented in the context of the game have just been living in the back of my mind in a little cave hidden like way back there where I've been hiding them, and they've just been begging for the day to come out. Today is that day because I've got to get some things off my chest about AI. Going back over a century, we can look at the exponential growth of technology in the world as we know it. And we've gone from some basic stuff where, 100 years ago, we were just starting to kind of get flight down. We still were working on perfecting that. We hadn't gone to the moon. We didn't have computers. We barely had like projector television, that kind of stuff. We didn't even really have television. It was just stuff that we had projectors in movie theaters. You could go watch highlight reels from the war or whatever the hell they watched in the 1920s. But we didn't have much. And then we've had this huge rise from the 50s and the 60s when computers were kind of a novelty that were on like the fringe of sci-fi, up until the 90s and the 2000s when the internet started taking over, and then every household got a computer, and to the point now where everybody has a computer in their pocket in the form of their cell phone. And the old adage of like the technology in my cell phone was more technology than they had for the trip to the moon in the 1969, right? So there's all of this massive growth that's happened. And it's kind of petered off a little bit in the past 10 or 15 years or so. We've kind of reached a point where the technology itself hasn't been like making quite as big of leaps. We've increased some of the processing power. We've got a little bit better resolution on the monitors and that kind of thing. But all in all, we haven't seen the kind of jump from 2016 to 2026 that we saw from 2006 to 2016, for instance. It just hasn't been there because the technology's kind of reached not necessarily a peak. It could be a peak, but it's kind of reached the current available limits, right? But something else has come into play, and that is artificial intelligence. And AI, it gets a lot of I'm gonna toss my stuff around here. AI gets a lot of both credit and blame and hate and love, and realistically, the facts about AI is it isn't as good as people say it is, but it also at the same time has the potential to do a lot of good or bad in the world. I think of things like video games, which I play a lot of games, obviously, for this channel, and how I've seen recent news about, companies and individuals starting to use AI-generated assets, AI-generated stuff to help make games, right? And those are starting to be put on Steam more often. And there's AI music, and there's a potential for AI movies as we've started to progress the generative stuff that's kind of been putting out videos. Right now, it's kind of shorter stuff, but there are companies that are working on using it for longer form stuff to get rid of animators and that kind of thing. And it got me thinking about, do we really want that? We see potential futures like Detroit Become Human, or on the extreme end, something like WALL-E, where you see like the people in WALL-E where they had advanced things to the point where basically robots handled everything in their lives. They just sat in a chair and watched TV, and that was everything that they wanted to do. And they were fed, they had their diapers changed, or whatever the hell it happened to be. Everything was computers did everything for them. And you might think, well, nobody would want a future like that. Why would anybody? I had a conversation with a guy a couple of years ago that we were doing a podcast for a while together, and we had talked at one point about potential futures. And he thought that a great idea, something that would be wonderful in the future, would be to have AI where you could wake up in the morning, put on your AI headset, and just do whatever you wanted for the day and just spend your entire day in AI. And I called that a dystopian future, and he didn't like the fact that I called it dystopian. But the fact of the matter is that is terrifying to me. Like, I enjoy getting outside. I enjoy seeing nature. I enjoy taking photos. I take pictures. Photography is a hobby, you know. I also enjoy doing all of my own work. I enjoy making all of my own videos, writing all of my own scripts, editing all of those. I enjoy the process of that because it's the process of being human. But there are people that want to automate the hell out of everything. And that scares me because right now, the way I look at it, when I upload videos on here, I look at and I see what other people are doing and what's out there. And I see so much AI generated slop. You can tell it's AI. You know, you've got the AI voiceover. You can tell the beats that the scripts are hitting. You can tell the AI has written the scripts. You can tell that AI is reading the scripts. You can tell that the video generated in the background is generic shit. That is either AI generated or just some random pictures that they stole from Google or whatever. And even the music, you can't even tell if it's AI anymore. Like, and everything that I use has got an AI element to it. Everything from YouTube, which YouTube drives me freaking up the wall with AI stuff because they've got this section where you can go as a creator and it will give you suggestions from AI on what videos to make, including thumbnails. So they'll give you a title with a potential idea and a thumbnail. And just for fun, I go in to look at those and I'm like, oh my God, these are horrible. The AI generated thumbnails they have in there, first of all, are very, very AI generated, like obviously. But the titles and stuff like that, a lot of times don't make a lot of sense. One, for the type of content I usually put out. But two, they don't make a lot of sense because sometimes they'll combine characters that don't make any sense to talk about in the same context. They will ask questions about games that makes absolutely no sense at all to ask questions about. It's like, where is this stuff coming from? They have an AI assistant in YouTube Studio for creators where you can go in and you can ask questions about your content and how your performance is. And to a point, I'll give it credit for something like that because it's really cool if you can go in and if you're curious, like which video has the most impressions on my channel or which video has got the highest click-through rate, and it can feed that information back to you. It's really cool for a search engine, right? But when you ask it questions like, why is this video underperforming compared to other videos on the channel? It spits back the most generic, insane shit. I asked about, it's got a button now you can just click on it and say, you know, tell me about this video on a short. And it said my short didn't have a high enough click-through rate. Shorts don't have a click-through rate. It was telling me that my short was underperforming because it had a 0% click-through rate. Come on, YouTube. Really? This is what we're doing now? And even the photo stuff that I do as a hobby on the side, Lightroom. I use Lightroom. I use Photoshop for my thumbnails and stuff like that. And it's all so heavily, like they've been adding all of these AI tools in. They're like, here, use AI to do all of this. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. I like the process. And that sounds crazy because I know there's a lot of people out there that are like, well, I don't want to do this stuff. This is the boring stuff. But guys, that's what makes us human. It's doing that boring stuff that makes the fun times more enjoyable. You know, it's the times of me sitting down and editing videos, writing scripts, going through the process of all of that kind of stuff. It's those times that, one, make it more rewarding when a video does do really well, and two, that makes it more enjoyable when I get out of the house to go travel or go to a park with my wife and take pictures or whatever. It's that little stuff. And do we really want a future like the one in Detroit, where they have, for instance, androids that are running around doing all the household chores, doing all of the jobs, where they are even creating art, where you have AI musicians, you have AI painters, you have like, where does it end? Do we really want that? And it's not inevitable. It's something that's within our control. It's something that we can take the time and the effort to weed out the AI stuff. And because it's not even just about being online, because you might say, well, I'll just leave the internet. If I just go away from the internet, I don't have to worry about AI. But you do, because everything, AI is getting into every part of our lives. It is helping to make decisions at companies and in the government. It is helping to drive things like layoffs and stuff like that. And when people aren't working, when they can't bring in an income, they've got to survive somehow. If you can't afford to buy your food, what the hell are you supposed to do? So if you think I'm just gonna go to work, I'm gonna ignore the internet, it's gonna come and get you too eventually. Like it comes, it spreads out, and it does. That's the way it works. That's how technology works. 30 years ago, in the 1990s, my mom was anti-computer. She said computers were bad. She hated them partially because of some stuff with my father, my biological dad. But like in general, she just thought computers, technology, and stuff like that, it was a fad. It was going to go away. You know, we had a computer in our home, but it was kind of just on lockdown. It was kind of like only for checking email and that kind of thing. Computers were a fad. And now they permeate every piece of our lives and all over the world. Even in places where you don't expect, technology is encroaching in places where you have like tribes that haven't barely had contact with the outside world in the last 1,000 years, and technology is being used to help them to irrigate their farms and shit like technology is permeating everything, and AI is going to be the exact same way if we let it. One thing you can do is you can reach out to companies that you want to use their apps and stuff like that, and be like, look, I don't want this AI stuff, and if you continue to push the AI stuff in here, I'm going to drop the app. Companies respond. Discord responded recently. They were going to do this whole age verification thing, which I'm sure they're probably going to do at some point. But they were supposed to roll it out in March, and they pulled it back because users said, we're going to delete our accounts and stop using it. We're going to just go away. We aren't going to use Discord anymore if you do this. And they said, okay, hold on a minute. Because they always go where the money is. If people would stop falling for AI clickbait, stop watching AI videos, stop, if you can tell something's AI, or if something is sensational, my wife comes across things all the time where she'll be like, oh my God, did you see this thing? And I'm like, honey, that's AI. It's hard to differentiate. And she's like, oh, okay. She didn't realize it was, because it's hard to tell. But if we can figure that out, if we can start to kind of second guess things, if we can start to kind of prioritize where we spend our time online and focus on getting away from the AI generated stuff, telling companies we don't want this stuff, I think it makes a better world in the long run. It helps everybody out, and it helps us stay human. The whole idea of Detroit Become Human was the concept of these androids that are starting to become more human. They've taken over the world. They've taken over the jobs. They've taken over the art. They've taken over the household chores, all the things that make us human. Like, that is something I think a lot of people miss, because you look at the idea of sentience and stuff, which we discussed in the Philosophy and Ethics series. But it's not just about the idea of sentience. It's because they are encroaching in our lives, and they are taking over everything that makes us human. And that's what's happening right now with AI and with technology in general. We are letting it take over our lives. Everything that makes us human, we are letting computers start to take over and do. And we have to stop that. We have to stop giving into the temptation of, well, I'm just going to take the easy way out. I'm just going to, take this thing that I don't like to do, and I'm just going to let AI take care of it for me. We have to stand up, and we have to say, no, I'm not going to do that. I will always be on this channel completely doing things on my own. As far as, I will not be using AI for anything. I write my own scripts. I edit my own scripts. I edit my own videos. I record everything on my own gameplay footage, my own footage on here. I do all of that, even my shorts. You know, a lot of people. I had a buddy that I was had a company with a few years ago, and we had been making some videos trying to promote our company and stuff. And he was like, "I'll take care of the shorts, man." And he pumps them into a AI system. It was early system that basically took what it said was the best parts of the video and created shorts out of them, and then automatically posted them. But I was like, wait a minute, why is there's so many misspellings? There's so many things where they got the words wrong. Why isn't it fixing any of that? Oh, that's normal. That's what everybody's used to now. Why do we lower the bar that much? Like, why don't we start saying, hey, I want to reach higher. I want to do better. I'm going to stop watching shorts, and I'm going to take that time that I normally watch shorts, and I'm going to watch some long form content. I'm going to read a book. I'm going to go outside and enjoy the weather and go to a park. You know, maybe pay closer attention to how you use your technology, because at the end of the day, it's a tool. And how you use that tool is 100% up to you. Now, there are times where you kind of get pushed into certain things. If you have a job where the company is like, well, you have to do this certain way, and you don't have a choice in that. But in your personal life, you have a choice in how you use these tools. Do you want to let AI type everything for you? Do you want to take a picture and instead of trying to get better at photography, just have AI create it for you? Or instead of trying to get better at art, have AI create it for you? You know, people want to create music and they want to create art, and that's all great. But if you want to get better at that stuff, you need to actually go out there and put in the work and keep being human. Take back the things that make us human. Because if we don't, before we know it, we're going to come to a point where we've lost our humanity, and the robots are the ones that are trying to become human. So that was a little bit more intense than my usual stuff. I like to have fun with these videos, but this is something that's really bothered me for a while. It's something that I've wanted to talk about. It's been in the back of my mind. I just haven't sat down until recently when I started kind of upping the unscripted videos to talk about these kind of things. And it's important. It's stuff that we need to pay attention to. And that's what I kind of want to try to focus on in this series, is stuff that we can apply to the real world, stuff that we can apply to our own lives to make the world a better place overall. I already have the Philosophy and Ethics in Games series, which is good for some of that stuff. It's good for using games as thought experiments. But I want this series moving forward to be more like doing the opposite almost. You know, looking at the real world and talking about what do we want to see, what do we not want to see, how do we make things. I've got a video coming up where I'm going to be talking about Joan and from The Walking Dead and the concept of like escalation and the slippery slope and where do we, you know, where do we draw lines, that kind of thing. So I want to talk about that kind of stuff because it's important that we pay attention to those things in the world around us. So that's all I got for this one. Let me know in the comments what you think. Do you want to see a future like in Detroit Become Human? Do you think that would be a great thing for humanity? Let me know down in the comments. If you have any suggestions for things that you'd like to see me talk about in future videos, I've got other games I'm going to be playing throughout the year, like Cyberpunk 2077 is coming up. I've got Assassin's Creed Black Flag I'm going to be playing. So I've got a lot of really cool stuff coming up. So if you want to see more about those games, let me know as well. But that's all I got for this one. Join the Patreon channel membership if you want to help the channel out. It goes a long way. Like I said, I do everything on my own. I am right now living off of ad revenue and Patreon and channel memberships. So the more people that sign up, the more stuff that I can do, the easier it is for me to do things. So just if that's something that you're able to do and want to do to help out the channel, you know, get your name on the screen. It's some fun stuff. So that's all I got for this one. I want to thank you all for watching. Everybody have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.